Hello, how you guys doing? James here. Well, I got, you probably heard about the news about what's going over in Israel. It's a sad situation. What's happening on both sides. Both sides, no matter war, it's a sad situation. People getting kidnapped, innocent people getting killed. But there's a couple stories I want to show you um, about Israel that you need to know. And these are actual stories. These are actual facts. And I hope that this is not considered some people, but it's truth is true. But I'm going ahead and I'll get back with my
Keeping
comments.
track of leads in your business or in your workflow can be super overwhelming, which is why I personally like to use Zapier to keep track of the leads coming in.
Today, the people of Israel are under attack, orchestrated by a terrorist organization, Hamas. In this moment of tragedy, I want to say to them and to the world and to terrorists everywhere that the United States stands with Israel.
Supporters of Israel in front of the United Nations to denounce the air and ground attacks against Israel early Saturday, which prompted Israel to war.
People here are fighting to save Jewish lives, and that's what we want to make clear.
Supporters of Palestinians gathered in Times Square in a rally denounced by both Mayor Adams and Governor Kathy Hochul on Saturday. Adams calling it disgusting, Hochul morally repugnant. Those rallying in support of Israelis condemning the attacks carried out by Hamas throughout the weekend, concerned for their family members and those from other countries caught in the violence.
What's up, family? This is your man, not your boy, bringing you another gold nugget that you can either pick up or you can just kick it aside. Let me lay this out to you. Why people of African descent should not be supporting Israel, let alone even just taking care of standing for either side, whether it's for the Palestinians. Now, I'm not for or against any side of the parties. They're going to have to just fight that out. But you're going to have to understand here, why am I saying that? Because there are us who are on the outside who have been saying that that land that they call Israel, our people were there first. But let me take you down memory lane. First and foremost, all right, we as a people, those who we've improved and show, whether you want to say the Limba, whether you want to say the Igbo, whether you want to say the Yoruba, have been all across what they call the Middle East, was living there for thousands of years. But of course, when the Romans and the Greeks and the Syrians and all these people came in to demolish what we would know of in that region, it began to take shape and form where other countries were living there. So first and foremost, we were there first, which you do know that is still Africa. But let's move up the line into the 20th century. You know, the Britons own that area which you would call Israel, right? Even where the Palestinians are and all that. But because of the United Nations, they decided that they would go ahead and tell old Britain, hey, remove your presence out of here because we are going to establish a state for our European brothers, the people who follow Judaism, who call themselves Jews. We want to give them a land. So just move out the way in peace. We'll compensate you and take care of you in other fashions and forms. So what they did was they went and removed 700,000 to over 1 million people out of the way so that they can establish this place called.
For those who don't know, I worked at Planned Parenthood for 8 years, and
called Israel. Well, of course, you know, the Palestinians weren't going to stand by and just sit back and just be thrown out. So there was a war that ensued. And in this war that ensued, of course, it was Arabs against these Jewish people, but the Jewish people had a little help by these national or the NATO forces, which of course has more of a populist military equipment as well as personnel. So, understandably, we know Palestinians lost the war. So, of course, they ushered in all of these people, established a Jewish state, and then divided the people up. The people were divided because Israel was in the middle now of Palestine, what you know as the West Bank, as well as what you know as the Gaza Strip. Now, what's interesting about this Gaza Strip and what you just heard about the bombing coming from the Hamas, right? These group of people that are Arab Brotherhoods, but that is a militant group that they would call the Hamas, but supported really by, if you want to say, Turkey, Syria, Egypt, Saudi Arabia, these countries here that are Arab brothers. Hamas basically sent up bombs because of the fact that the people in the Gaza Strip are basically strapped into a reservations. Now, many of you all know what happened when the Europeans came into America. Stripped the land from the natives, put them on reservations, and then they were left without. So these people who live in this Gaza Strip, that is basically a big, large ghetto, it's said it's about the two sizes of Washington, D.C., over 2 million people that's actually living in this small space. They are confined. Matter of fact, there have been sanctions against them because of the fact that many people don't like who they are, or because they want to retaliate because of this division of their people, where they have no other recourse but try to fight back and gain as much as land as they can. But because they are supported by NATO, Israelis are, there's not much they really can do except for throw bombs in the air, and hopefully that it can strike and cause a hysteria across the globe, that they can get support by people to see what that they have been basically ostracized, put in the corner, swept away, and forgotten. They don't get imports coming in to help and support them, whether it's equipment and technology or even food. These people are actually suffering. If the mainstream media would tell you, because most of these Western countries support Israel, because these are their cousins. These people are Europeans, white, Caucasians, if you will, so they support their own. We know that, yes, Arabs are looked down upon, blacks, Africans, or whatever you want to call it, are looked upon, and they will take care of themselves, which is the NATO of what you would call the National Alliance Treaty Organization. They stand for each other. But let me break it even more simpler to you, because what they want you to believe that you should stand with Israel when Israel is the one who actually came and squeezed themselves in a country, divided the people up, made a circle around them, put them on their reservations, and they have disconnect with their other families across the land over on the West Bank, and they get no support. And we be silly enough to listen to the propaganda that is put on the news that Israel is under attack. And as Netanyahu, the president, prime minister, or whatever you want to call him there in Israel, who wants to say that it is wrong for the Palestinians who bombed and killed 600 of our people, now it's supposed to be about 1,000 people, there are those who are hostage, they're wrong, we're going on an all-out war. Without many people understanding the history that you took their land. Do you think it's easy? I mean, it's a hard pill to swallow. Think about us African Americans here in America, or even the natives. Our lands were taken. Even the African Americans, family, to include my uncle, who had farms, that their lands were taken, stripped from them. And now you're left out to be what? Put in a project? To be thrown crumbs? And not expect that people should rise up and fight against the injustices of what you did to a people? That right there is a hard pill to swallow. So over these years, since 1948, when they established this state of Israel, we see there have been wars amongst wars with the so-called Palestinians, with even the Lebanese, which is what America would say is a terrorist group called Hezbollah. Hezbollah is nothing more than another Arab group who are there to fight for the Lebanese, who are backed by Iran, Iraq, Yemen, and these other Arab nations. It seems that these Arab nations surrounded around Israel and fighting against them is because Israel has stolen land. This is the reason for the wars. And unbeknownst to so many people around the globe, America and Europe help support to steal people's land. This is why I say I don't even support even the other side across the aisle, Palestine, because they took the land. The Arabs took the land from the so-called Israelites, if you will, those who already know a true history of the lineage of their people. The Limba, please look at my video, of the Limba tribe. The Igbo people, which Igbo means Hebrew, people, Yoruba, Yoruba, whether it is the Bantu languages, these are all a part and associated in the 12 tribes of Israel, and those are standing up saying they are the people and their land was taken. Now, when you really look into the crux of even Israel, who brought in the Ethiopian Jews, please look up, please do yourself a favor. Because these Ethiopians who have been shipped over there, when they were trying to secure their Hebrew or their Jewish lineage, or their connection to Israel, because it was a law that if you had Jewish connections, you had a right to Israel, they flew them in to the country. Please look up Operation Solomon, Operation Moses. You're going to see that they flew hundreds of thousands of Ethiopian Jews there, but the Ethiopians tell the world that they are being mistreated by these supposed Israelites that are there in Israel, supposedly be God's chosen people, that they are prejudiced against them, that they have inoculated their people with shots, that they gave their women birth control unbeknownst to them, that they were unable to have babies within 10 years. Please look that up. The president himself decided to do away with that program just here in the last few years. And these are the people talking about they're the chosen, and yet they're the ones going around causing a lot of destruction. And yet our people are standing up in support, not understanding these are the people who were supported by the Western worlds to take land from people, to put people in their own small little circles of reservations, to devastate their communities by putting sanctions, keeping imports from coming in. Silly rabbit, tricks are for kids. We need to wake up and realize, stop following everything that they propagate. And like the Black Lives Matter, when you were standing up and got caught in, that this was nothing more than an agenda ran by black people who wanted to push their own agendas across the world. And it wasn't for Black Lives Matter. Time for us to wake up, family, and it's time for us to really get to the truth and the crux of the matter. This is your man.
Now watch this one.
The only thing more difficult than running a business is finding the right words to market.
And again, this young boy, he placed more importance on protecting other people than get his people out of a dilemma. But he was rewarded and recognized for it. And he personally benefited at the expense of his own people. And he personally benefited at the expense of his own people. And he personally benefited at the expense of his own people.
I woke up, man, this morning with some disturbing news out of Israel. The Hamas kidnapping children, putting them in cages, killing women, killing the elderly. That's some cowards. That's cowardly. And for all y'all Black Lives Matter who ain't saying nothing, well, let me figure out exactly what happened before I say anything. Figure out what? It ain't never been cool to kidnap kids and put them in cages. It ain't never been cool to kill women and elderly. Never been. No matter where you from, what you represent, what tribe you from, it don't matter. There ain't never been no cool. There ain't never been nothing that nobody supported. And then you go and hide and put the kids in front of you as a barricade. That's some cowardice. All you politicians who always have something to say on the contrary, I see you. All you Black Lives Matter people who always have something to say and always support everything else and you quiet down, up to. Only place in the world where I can go and study Torah, eat kosher food. Only place in the world. Only place in the world. Only place in the world.
I don't know why we leaving Mouse's house. He been good to us. He feed us on Saturday, clothe us on Sunday, and then beat us on Monday. Or was it Tuesday? I don't know.
Jasper, I just want to go out the house again, Jasper.
What?
Jasper, don't you want to be up? We go to Promised Land. Promised Land.
Promised Land?
Only place in the world where I can go and study Torah, eat kosher food. Only place in the world. Some cowardice, y'all, and all y'all support it. All for you. On my mama, we don't respect none of y'all for that. Peace.
The Jewish community as we know them were major players with owning slaves. Jews and Judaism in the United States, a documentary history. Rabbi Mark Lee Raphael, no one can say that I'm making this up. This is a Jewish rabbi, a book that he wrote, 1983. Notice what he says here. Jews also took an active part in the Dutch colonial slave trade. Indeed, the bylaws of the Recife and Mauritia congregations in 1648 included an imposta, in other words, a Jewish tax of 5 soldos for each Negro slave a Brazilian Jew purchased from the West Indies Company. Slave auctions were postponed if they fell on a Jewish holiday. In Corinthians, excuse me if I butchered the name, in the 17th century, as well as in the British colonies of Barbados and Jamaica in the 18th century, Jewish merchants played a major role in the slave trade. Let me say that again. Jewish merchants played a major role in the slave trade. In fact, in all the American colonies, whether French, British, or Dutch, Jewish merchants frequently dominated. Let me say that again. The Jewish merchants frequently dominated. Read it one more time. In fact, in all the American colonies, say it one more time. In all of the American colonies, whether French, whether it's British or Dutch, Jewish merchants frequently dominated. This was no less true on the North American mainland, where during the 18th century, Jews participated in the triangular trade that brought slaves from Africa to the West Indies and there exchanged them for molasses, which in turn was taken to New England and converted into rum for sale in Africa. New England, that's where you get into Massachusetts, Vermont, Connecticut, that area. Yes, there were slave Jewish settlements up there. Yes, you had slaves up in that area. This is giving some names here, but it makes it clear all these individuals here are Jewish. This is Charleston, South Carolina, Philadelphia, Newport News, Virginia. It says here, dominated Jewish slave trading on the American continent. In these European outposts, the Jews, with their years of mercantile experience and networks of friends and family providing market reports of great use, played a significant role in the merchant capitalism. In these European outposts, the Jews, with their years of mercantile experience and networks of friends and family providing market reports of great use, played a significant role in the merchant capitalism, commercial revolution, and territorial expansion that developed the New World and established the colonial. And family, we got to stop looking for something new. The New World Order has been here and running with full steam. Anyone that's prophesying, anticipating of a New World Order, they're not teaching prophecy correctly. They're teaching a Eurocentric, a heavily Euro-influenced prophecy. The New World Order has been in full effect. So capitalism, commercial revolution, and territorial expansion that developed the New World and established the colonial economics. The Jewish Caribbean nexus provided Jews with the opportunity to claim a disproportionate influence in the 17th, the 18th century. New World commerce and enabled West Indian Jewry far outnumbering, he said it again, far outnumbering its co-religionists. Further north to enjoy a centrality with North American Jewry would not achieve for a long time to come. Groups of Jews began to arrive in Suriname in the middle of the 17th century after the Portuguese regained control of northern Brazil by 1694. 27 years after the British had surrounded Suriname to Dutch, there were about 100 Jewish families and 50 single Jews. There were about 570 persons. They possessed more than 40 estates and 9,000 slaves, contributed 25,905 pounds of sugar as a gift for the building of a hospital, and carried on an active trade with Newport and other colonial ports. By 1730, Jews owned 115 plantations and were a large part of a sugar export business. This is where you get Domino sugar, which sent out 21,680,000 pounds of sugar to European and New World markets in 1730 alone. Slave trading was a major feature of Jewish economics. Going back to capitalism, slave trading was a major feature of Jewish economic life in Suriname, which as a major stopping off point in the triangular trade. Both North American and Caribbean Jews played a key role in this commerce.
No matter who you are, being yourself can be tough when you have severe asthma. Triggers can pop up out of
I woke up, man, this morning with some disturbing news out of Israel. That Hamas kidnapping children, putting them in cages, killing women, killing the elderly. That's some cowardice. That's cowardly. That's cowardly. That's cowardly.
3 miles from the center of Savannah sits this nondescript plot of land. Thousands of cars drive by it without notice every day. But these trees mask a dark history. It was near here, more than 150 years ago, that the largest single auction of enslaved people in the history of the United States was held. The sale was advertised in newspapers across the country, and over the course of 2 days in 1859, more than 400 children, women, and men were sold to the highest bidder. Were sold to the highest bidder. Were sold to the highest bidder.
Only place in the world where I can go and study Torah, eat kosher food. Only place in the world. Only place in the world. Only place in the world.
I don't know why we leaving Mouse's house. He been good to us. He feed us on Saturday, clothe us on Sunday, and then beat us on Monday. Or was it Tuesday? I don't know.
Jasper, I just want to go out of the house again, Jasper.
What?
Jasper, don't you want freedom? We go to Promised Land. Promised Land.
Promised Land.
1704, there's a black kid. There are a whole bunch of slaves coming in from Africa on a slave vessel called the Eagle. The Eagle is heading towards America. There's a young black boy on there, along with some other older slaves. The slaves decide to revolt on the ship. And they took over and knocked the captain down, took over the ship, and took the weapons, and we're in a fight to take over the control of the ship and headed towards back towards Africa. And as one of the older slaves grabbed a machete, and he said he's going to kill the captain so they can completely have control of the ship. As he swung at the captain, a young black slave jumped up and got in the way and protected the captain, and took the blows himself, which chopped off one of his arms, and protected the captain. And by protecting the captain was able to recover the control of the vessel, put down the insurrection, and they then hung all the blacks who were trying to revolt, except the young black kid who was only 19. When the captain got to America, he gave him to supposedly a benevolent slave owner and rewarded him with recognition, and says that after he's been educated and recovered from his wounds, that he's to be set free. And again, this young boy, he placed more importance on protecting other people than get his free people out of a dilemma. But he was rewarded and recognized for it. And he personally benefited at the expense of his own people. And he personally benefited at the expense of his own people. And he personally benefited at the expense of his own people.
Only place in the world where I can go and study Torah, eat kosher food. Only place in the world. Only place in the world. Only place in the world.
I don't know why we leaving Mouse's house. He been good to us. He feed us on Saturday, clothe us on Sunday,
A lot of black folks act like
beat
this.
us on Monday. Or was it Tuesday? I don't know.
Jasper, I just want to go out of the house again, Jasper.
What?
Jasper, don't you want freedom? We go to Promised Land. Promised Land.
Promised Land.
What's your thoughts? Please be respectful with your comment.
That's so true. There's a lot of black people like that.
Madman in White House and lunatics in Israel Zionist government. Revino Gottlieb, a member of the Zionist Likud party and a member of the Knesset, stated that the military must shell Gaza mercilessly. She cheered the madman in the White House,
Joe Biden for what she called a flame-throwing speech that showed Hamas that we are not alone in our intent to wipe it off the face of the earth. Now, she's quoting Joe Biden, and she's cheering for what Joe Biden said. Now, I have bad news for both of them. Hamas is not going to be wiped off the face of the earth. They've been trying that for a long time, and they have not succeeded in doing that. Biden peddled the lie about Hamas cutting off the heads of babies and women being raped, assaulted, paraded as trophies. Now, this is Joe Biden, the one that many of you voted for. Their agenda haven't changed, but it has been transposed from centuries of demonizing blacks to demonizing Palestinians. I'm talking about the Zionists. These are the typical lies expected from many Zionists, including the spokesperson for Benjamin Netanyahu. For decades, with the support of Americans and Europeans, the Zionists have been unsuccessful at exterminating the Palestinians. Yes, they have killed tens of thousands of Palestinians. Still, the Palestinians are outproducing them in birth rates. Like invading locusts, the Zionists have been successful at taking more and more Palestinian land, thanks in large part to the Europeans and Americans who give them millions and millions and millions of dollars every year. Now, Gottlieb, she called for the use of nuclear weapons upon Gaza. Yes, she did. She declared Jericho missiles, strategic alert, she said, before considering the introduction of forces, before putting forces in Gaza. Doomsday weapon nukes. This is my opinion. May God preserve all of our strength. Now, her God is themselves. You know, the old saying among the Zionists, the rabbinic, God consults with them. In other words, God is subservient to them. She may remember, however, what happened to Israel in 2006. The IDF forces, when they were sent into Lebanon, they were crushed. Even some of their so-called invincible Makova tanks were destroyed, burning soldiers alive on the inside. Therefore, she proposes nuking men, women, and children in the largest prison in the world, that being Gaza. Simply nuke them. That's what she wants to do. Nuke them. And that solves our problem. Not only is Joe Biden a madman, but Gottlieb is as well. She is a mad idiot. Yeah, a mad woman. Perhaps she never stopped to think about the close proximity of Gaza to the Zionist state. Any radiation fallout would certainly kill her and others.
Boom.
Maybe she never stopped to think that most of the world would demand an end to the Zionist state that was established by European racists. To secretly target and sterilize Ethiopian girls, that is racist. To develop race-specific weapons based upon one's genes is racist. To be the last forced to drop ties with apartheid South Africa, that is racist.
Boom.
To never internationally denounce the anti-black writings of Belgian Rabbi Rashi, that is racist.
Boom.
To continually steal more and more land, denying the Palestinians their own sovereign state,
Boom.
that is racist. Palestinians, yes, Palestinians have replaced in a large way what blacks were in the minds of these Zionists. Benjamin Netanyahu is very, very evil and a threat to the survival of the Zionist state. Finally, another madman is Republican Senator of South Carolina, Lindsey Graham, who has called for bombing Iran's oil refineries and other infrastructure, blaming Iran for Hamas attacks upon the Zionist state. Now, this escalation that he is calling for, it will only hasten the decline and fall of the American empire. That's right. This is T. West with Afro Synergy News.
We are the revolutionaries of
Now
today.
you got to find out
University of
what,
Massachusetts
it's not the only thing with Israel doing.
revolutionary spirit runs through our veins.
You about to find out another thing about Israel. What they've been doing.
What's up, family? By now, most of you have heard about the anybody can get it war going on between Israel and Palestine. What you may not be aware of is the Black Hebrew Israelite religious community in Israel. That's right, fam. They got black folks out there. About 3,000 of them. And many of them, well, dozens of them, are at risk of being deported. Yeah. All of this happened when the group tried to formalize their identity in Israel. Yeah, they wanted to formalize their status. And the government said, hold on, wait. Get up out of here. Get up out of here with that. Back in 2021, Israel's interior minister sent letters urging members of the community to leave within 60 days, despite some of them having been born in the Jewish state. Some of those ordered out of Israel have lived in the country, forget this fam, more than 20 years. One black Hebrew Israelite said, I was born here, raised here, was educated here, and I don't know any other place in the world. Black Hebrew Israelites are groups of black Americans who believe that they are descendants of ancient Israelites of the Bible. The movement began in the late 19th century in the United States, however, later expanded in separate strands. Israel's Black Hebrew Israelite community first came together in Chicago in the 1960s under the leadership of Ben Carter, a preacher who later became known as Ben Amit Ben Israel. His followers settled in Israel in the 1960s and 1990s, with many of them receiving citizenship and residency. However, some did not, along with other members of the community, and they are now being forced to leave. So what do y'all think about that, fam? Israel, a lot of black people are riding for Israel right now, you know, like they're like on Israel's side. Amari Stoudemire cussed out BLM and said an alphabet. Israel. I wonder, do dude even know where Israel is? He was riding for it really, really hard. Like, I just wonder, like, if you've never been to Israel or Palestine, how do you pick a a side. Like if you don't know anybody in either one of those countries,
Exactly.
you don't have family.
Exactly.
How do you just pick a side?
Exactly.
Because we've seen murder on both sides.
Exactly.
We've seen kids die on both sides. We've seen women die on both sides. We've seen men murdered and maimed on both sides. We've seen communities destroyed, schools, mosques destroyed on both sides. Innocent people killed on both sides.
Yep.
What makes one pick one side over the other?
Right.
You know, I heard what Amari Stoudemire said. And this dude really looks goofy because I haven't heard any of that passion with all of the killing that goes on in America. All of the black babies who get hit by stray bullets, who get killed when their parents are pulled over by the police, or when the police run up in their parents' house or their grandparents' house with a no-knock warrant, and the kid get hit with a stray bullet. Haven't heard any of that. I wonder why. What do you think it is, fam? I don't know. I have no clue. Drop a comment. I'd love to hear your thoughts. No more talk. What the heck is talking about?
One thing I've learned from being on YouTube is sometimes before you go running up off at the mouth like Stoudemire, you really need to do your research. You need it before you go and take a sides. You really need to see the whole picture. And that's the problem with people. They don't watch the whole thing. And it's sad, man. It's sad that you're just gonna jump out there and don't not know what you're talking about, not seeing the whole picture, and you're just gonna jump on some people because you felt led to. But before I go, here's another one.
Family and fellow soldiers, I'm the Professor, and this is the moment of truth. I'm going to be keeping this one short and sweet due to the sensitivity of the subject and the sensitivity of those who try to attack channels like this just for any reason. Jerusalem is the spiritual capital of Israel. The name means the city of peace, but as the Bible says, they say peace, peace, when there is no peace. Oh, it's war over there. Again, frankly, I didn't know the fighting had ever stopped. Everyone's heard by now that Hamas has carried out a huge attack against Israel, using rockets, guys on boats, even power gliders, and of course, a gang of ground troops. The country is currently a war zone. Once more. President Biden has already pledged billions of dollars to Israel. That money can be added to the $3.9 billion that the U.S. has given Israel every year since the 1970s. Most of the U.S.'s foreign aid to Israel goes to its military, so basically the U.S. has been paying for Israel's armed forces. On top of that, Israel has a nuclear arsenal, hundreds of warheads. Now, I would think that alone would remove the need for more foreign aid since they have all of this nuclear firepower, the most in their part of the region. And of course, you have Israel's leaders who have frequently boasted about how well their economy is doing. That being the case, nuclear warheads and a robust economy, where is that almost $4 billion per year going? Because based on this incident, obviously it's not going towards surveillance or any sort of national intelligence. Also, you see how magically Joe Biden and the Democrats could pull billions of dollars out of a hat for Israel on a moment's notice? They tell black people there's no money for anything for us. Roads, bridges, reparations. But as soon as you get some non-black folks who ask for something, all of a sudden these same politicians who were pleading poverty a moment ago can magically find it. They find it instantly. And of course, I'm sure I'm not the only one who's noticed the timing of this assault. It's more than a little convenient for Benjamin Netanyahu. He's the corrupt and racist autocrat of Israel, and he's also been on trial for accepting bribes and being generally corrupt. His trial was going on right now, and up until 48 hours ago, his trial had been the biggest news coming out of Israel. That and how Netanyahu and his pals in the Likud party have conspired to take all authority away from Israel's Supreme Court, which basically would make Netanyahu a super branch of government unto himself, unaccountable to anyone under law, because Israel doesn't have a constitution. Yeah, Netanyahu was in hot water. He couldn't even show his face publicly. That is, up until 48 hours ago. Now Netanyahu's had a complete image makeover. Oh, he's been instantly reinvented. He's in front of the cameras again. World leaders who have been shunning him are now openly supporting him again. The Israeli public, who just a couple of weeks ago was protesting him in the streets in unprecedented numbers, they've now fallen silent. Many people said that it would take a miracle to save Netanyahu from a prison cell. Well, looks like his prayers were answered. The Israeli government is claiming that the death toll currently stands at 700 plus Israelis and rising, with over 250 people being killed at a music festival alone. The BBC says that this is the largest loss of life that Israel has experienced in a single day. This latest outbreak of armed conflict is bad for Palestinians and Israelis alike, but the one person that has been good for is Benjamin Netanyahu. I don't think it's at all rude to ask, how did Hamas manage to pull this off? Israel has nationwide security surveillance, and their intelligence gathering is excellent. Nothing of this nature has happened in this country since the 1970s, and even then, that was an outward assault by countries outside of Israel's borders. This was actually an inside job. How did Hamas manage to sneak in what the white media has claimed are thousands of rockets? How did they manage to sneak all of that into Israel and do it right under the Israeli military's noses? You have ships with food for Palestinians showing up in the dark of the night, and they can't get past Israel's security forces. The Palestinians can't even bring groceries into the West Bank without running a gauntlet of security checkpoints.
That's true.
Usually Hamas has only been able to make a few homemade rockets. They don't get very far and don't do very much, nothing too serious. But this time they actually had military-grade rockets and thousands of them. And these things made some real distance, and they were anything but duds. On top of that, Hamas had managed to coordinate a land assault with hundreds of armed members who stormed their way past Israel's border fence. And from there, they took dozens of Israelis hostage, as many as 100 is estimated. They even overran an Israeli tank crew, taking the Israeli soldiers hostage. Now, the reason for the hostage-taking is pretty straightforward. That's basically been the pastime over there in the Muslim world for the longest time. Now, the Israelis normally respond to any aggressive move by the Palestinians by launching tons of missiles all over the place and leveling buildings and such. Benjamin Netanyahu's been threatening to level Gaza, but he's going to have to wait a little bit before he does that, because with dozens of hostages now in Gaza and no way of knowing exactly where they are, that's going to make it very dicey for the Israelis to try to level the place, which is what they normally do. Yes, they're launching airstrikes, but not with the ferocity that they normally would. Now, the Israelis are going to be forced to put infantry in there to find any Hamas operatives and free any hostages. That basically levels the playing field more or less for Hamas's gunmen. It was kind of clever on their part, actually, to reduce Israel's air superiority without having any planes of their own. The Israeli government is saying that Iran was behind this attack, at least as far as the planning and coordination of it goes. Of course, the Israeli government also has blamed Syria for attacks in the past, as well as Lebanon. Iran is part of the U.S.'s axis of evil, so the U.S. has had them on the list for regime change for many years now. Though up until now, the U.S. didn't have a politically defensible reason for trying any sort of military maneuver against Iran. The Israelis didn't have a reason either. This incident, though, changes that. Whether Iran was truly behind this or not won't matter any more than the fact that Saddam Hussein wasn't behind 9/11, but the Bush administration falsely claimed he was anyway. And by the time W and the boys finally fessed up to the truth, it didn't matter, because Iraq had already been invaded and taken over, and the U.S. had installed its own puppet leaders there. This war could very well spread beyond Israel's borders. Already the IDF is pointing at the hills of Lebanon and saying that there's missile attacks coming from there too. So, where do we stand in all of this? Well, there's no sides for us to take here. The same way that there weren't any last year when war broke out in Ukraine. We We had nothing to do with the enmity between these two factions, so nothing we say or do is going to make them stop. Besides, they've both shown hostility towards us in the US and abroad. As unfortunate as all this is, it should be remembered that black Americans are oppressed and persecuted every single day, and our persecution has lasted far longer than the Palestinians. We have been under threat far longer than the Israelis, too. The death toll among the Israelis is in the 100, and that is certainly shocking for them, but we've had racial massacres that we've been subjected to in the US with death tolls far higher. So no matter what side anyone decides to take in this conflict, you can't deny that what's been happening to black people in the United States is far worse. But that death toll and carnage goes completely and thoroughly unanswered. Excuses are made rather than huge amounts of money paid, and that is not okay. Because when you have a situation like the one in the United States, there is supposed to be a robust and aggressive response. Instead, what we get is silence and a dogged determination to ignore the suffering that we've endured. What's going on in Israel is the same thing that we've seen in many other countries around the world, which is how other groups respond when they're being mistreated. This country should be exceedingly grateful that black people have shown extraordinary restraint and have not responded with massive violence or some sort of insurgency. Because that's what happens in other countries. Next time somebody tries to tell you that black people are being too radical with our demands, and that we're simply being too radical with all these things that we say, you go ahead and you point them over to Palestine, you point them to these other groups. Let them see what radical actually looks like.
Right.
And then remind them just how good they've got it here. Good day, and be one. I'd like to take...
Absolutely. I couldn't said it more better than that. And do you know that after all this, and you know everything was on Russia, Ukraine, now it's focused on Israel. You don't even hardly see no news report, none of the news stations on mainstream media. That's like, dang, it's like, what's going, we don't even know, people probably in Ukraine don't even know what's going on. But they still bombing. Luckily, it's a station and show that Ukraine and Russia are still going at it. But they literally took off and stopped the whole thing. And check this out. Their president is back in Israel. Right? The Ukrainian president, right? Here's the tripped out part. Here's the tripped out. Zelensky, who is Jewish, right? He's Jewish. Right? He got a Jewish background. But I did a video years ago. Showing that half of his soldiers are Nazis. Half his soldiers are Nazis. He got Nazi soldiers. He got Nazi soldiers. People who had an ideology, who some people in Israel were fleeing from during the 1940s when the Nazis did what they did to them. But you have, and then he has what they call Azov, which looks to Hitler as a god. And then the United States sends billions of dollars, trillions and trillions of dollars to a president who's Jewish and got a white nationalist army up under him. You can't make this shit up. You can't make this shit. You can't make this shit up. You cannot make this shit up, man. I'm telling you, it's like, this is crazy. And everybody got to stop, and everybody got to be concerned. So now another faction is Hamas. That don't like Jewish people either. Oh my goodness. So you got the Nazis, so the United States is supporting the Nazis up under a Jewish president. You got a Nazi army fighting the Russians. This situation is goofy. And then then they're going to Then they gonna supply, which Israel already have enough weapons. They got enough technology to take out. It's gonna be a matter of time. Their technology is off the chain. They know how to strike targets and everything. I don't know why America seems like they give Trump work up some kind of package when they already got it. They got the military. Israel got one of the best surveillance technology in the world. They know how to go in and zap out. They got stuff, man. They got stuff that you wouldn't believe. That can stop it. Can stop them right in their tracks. And like he said, they can't find them. That's the only thing about it is. But this stuff is just crazy, man. This stuff is crazy. But overall, you see how these different groups that are rising against us as a people, that even the white nationalists, along with terrorists, is going against each other. Going against each other, man. This is crazy. This is crazy. This is crazy. So, yeah. So Ukraine, again, have a Jewish president, his army is full of Nazis. The Nazis that studied up under Hitler, that tried to exterminate what they said was 6 million Jews and other people. And then the United States sends Ukraine billions of dollars. And you got descendants of Jewish people in the government who are relative a part of the Holocaust. Think about this now. So they give it a president who has a Jewish lineage, billions of dollars, so his Nazi army can fight the Russians. Oh my God. So what kind of patriotic shit is this? All up under Biden. This all up under Biden. All this up under Biden. Everything was up under. Crazy. This is the most bizarre. And then you're supposed to, like I said, you see the history of what some people in Israel have done to different groups of people. So you're supposed to stop and take it on the chin. And he's right. Black people, we agree that we ain't got no stake in this. We're not even considered human to the ones that think that who is the so-called chosen people, and they get rich off of all of us. You see it right there. The information is right there. The information is right there. The truth is there. That's why I put this video out. The truth is in the face. You can't deny it. And when someone point out the truth, you got people trying to shut people down, take them offline, take them off the air, because they don't want this truth coming out. They don't want that. They don't want truth. They want to tell their truth. That's why you have to go to different sources to find truth, because they're not going to tell you the whole truth. They're not going to tell you the whole truth until you have to really see it for yourself. So I hope this is a lesson to learn. And for Starty Martin went out there and he made himself like an ass. I mean, he sounded like that with the one video did. If he beat us on Sunday, feed us on Friday. He sound like that. And you got some black people like that, unfortunately. And you don't even know the whole story. You're ready to come down and say F you to your own people while your own people getting persecuted in the street. And you don't even take the time out to really think about that. Wow. Wow, he really should have thought about that. He made himself like an ass. Really. And he need to see the whole picture about Israel. and what they did to his people, part of his lineage, and what they currently doing to the ones who are claiming that lineage, who are our complexion. But they want you to pray for them. Yeah. Yeah. I'll pray for the country, but I ain't praying for the Zionists. I'll pray for the country. I ain't praying for no Zionists. It's the Zionists that did this. At the end of the day, it is what it is. You got some people that love to just throw their people down the drain. They don't do no research. They just come online and they, you know what I'm saying, and don't really think about what they do. That's how it affects. And you don't know. He's just a boy to them. Alright then, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you enjoyed this video. Share, like, and subscribe. Till next time. Enjoy your day.